Next up, we have Tony Rivera from Azure Minerals. Tony's a geologist and company manager with 40 years' experience in the mining industry. During his career, he's been responsible for the discovery of several gold and nickel deposits which have been developed into operating mines. In 2020, Tony made the decision to change focus away from Mexico, and Azure Minerals acquired several nickel and gold projects here in WA. Leading the way is the advanced stage Andover nickel, copper, cobalt sulfide project, where several discoveries have been made, a maiden mineral resource has been released, and mine development studies are underway. Thanks, Tony.
Thank you very much, Jane, and thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for the opportunity to bring you up to speed with the latest news on Azure Minerals and particularly our Andover nickel project. So, as it says there on the front slide there, this is an opportunity to define a new nickel province in an area where there's been very little in the way of nickel being found historically, and this is the West Pilbara region of northwest Western Australia. And the project itself is coming along really well, and we've had identified multiple examples of nickel sulfide mineralisation, and to the extent where we've got the maiden mineral resource for one deposit has been announced. We're currently completing the drill out of a second deposit, and we've got numerous other opportunities to find additional deposits in the area. The usual disclaimer and statements which can be found on our website, and you'll be able to read that at your leisure if you should visit there. Corporately, quick snapshot there. Basically, the company's got about $14 million in the bank, and we've got a market cap of about $68 million at the moment. So the company's in a fairly secure position financially, and our focus is very much on the Andover project, so that's where our financial focus has been gone. We are in the western part of the Pilbara region, and as I'm sure you're all aware that this part of Western Australia has been in the news in recent times, particularly for cultural reasons. We've worked there now for the last 2 years, and we've spent a great deal of time and effort to get to know the local communities and the local people, and to build up a strong relationship with those communities. The Ngarluma people, who are the traditional custodians of this part of the West Pilbara, are very strongly attached to the land on which we operate, and so we recognise their interests in the land. We recognise the importance that it is for them culturally and their heritage-wise, and we are very cognisant of having to live in a close relationship with them, and we thank them for the very strong support that they've been showing us in trying to develop this project. As I mentioned earlier, we believe that we have on the cusp of actually defining a new nickel province in Western Australia, in the West Pilbara, and particularly in the Andover project area. So we've got an area there with the Andover layered mafic, ultramafic intrusive complex, which we cover about 70 square kilometres of that land, is proving to be an incredibly fertile and very nickel-rich district. We went in there less than 2 years ago after completing a deal with Mark Creasy to acquire an interest in the property. And in that 2 years, we've drilled over 170 diamond drill holes, 80,000 metres of diamond drilling. We've proved up 2 deposits which are at the resource stage. We have numerous other opportunities there for finding additional mineralisation as well. In addition to that, we're such strong believers in that what we've got there is going to be developed, or the project will be developed in time into a mining operation, that we have commenced the development studies. So we have a scoping study that's well underway at the moment, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. And we see here as an opportunity for a textbook hub and spoke type operation, where there would be a central processing facility for the treatment of the nickel and copper sulfide mineralisation, but that would be fed from the multiple deposits and in time hopefully the multiple mines that we're identifying in the district. And the company's in a very strong position financially to continue to develop both the exploration and the development strategy. So Andover is a joint venture between Azure Minerals and Mark Creasy and the Creasy Group. Azure owns the 60%. We bought that outright from him, and hence he is a large shareholder in our company. Within the last 2 years, of exploration. We've gone immediately from standard exploration on surface through to commencing drilling about 20 months ago. As I said, we've been drilling non-stop ever since then, and we've had great success in terms of the discoveries. Exploration in this area is traditional old school exploration. The rocks all stick out of the ground. So one of the major components of our exploration is actually putting boots on ground and going out there and mapping and sampling the surface. The rocks stick out of the ground, and in a lot of cases the mineralisation sticks out of the ground. We can find nickel and copper rich gossans outcropping there, and we can also find, you can crack open fresh rocks and you can find disseminated nickel and copper sulfides within those fresh rocks at surface. And we concentrate a lot on the mapping and the sampling through that region, throughout the district. And when we come across these examples of outcropping mineralisation, we can undertake electromagnetic surveys. So we've conducted airborne surveys, then we do surface EM surveys, then we drill some holes and we hit nickel mineralisation, we do downhole EM surveys, and we can find extensions of that mineralisation. So this is an area where the exploration really is traditional, and it's proven to be very, very successful so far. There's obviously a lot of other aspects or prospects that we'll be tackling very soon, and I'll mention those shortly, but things are looking very, very positive. And of course, being in West Pilbara, this is an area where there has historically, over the last 50 or 60 years, been a lot of industrial development and mining development. So to the south of us, we have Rio Tinto's iron ore mining operations. To the north of us, just offshore, we have Woodside's oil and gas facilities. Onshore, the LNG production facilities are there as well. So there's a lot of mining and industrial developments happening in the area. So we have great infrastructure. We've got highways, we've got roads, we've got power lines, we've got water pipelines, gas pipelines, and everything you could possibly want for a mining and processing operation is within a very short distance of our project area. So let's move straight into the main deposit, the first one that we've drilled out. It's the Andover deposit. The mineral resource can be shown there in details, but it's basically 4.5 million tonnes at about 1.4% nickel equivalent, made up mostly of nickel mineralisation with some copper and some cobalt credits as well, for around about 75,000 tonnes of contained combined metal within that one deposit. The mineralisation is very robust because the mineralisation itself is has great continuity and great consistency. So in terms of the widths and the grade of the mineralisation, it is continuous and consistent from left to right, from east to west, which is about 300 metres, and from just below surface down to at least 550 metres below surface. And the mineralisation remains open at depth, where additional drilling we believe, would be likely to find more mineralisation as well. So this is the first deposit that we've found, and this is the one that the development study program is focused on at the moment. We hope to be in a position to be able to release the scoping study in the early part of next year. So that was the first deposit. That's Andover. So we move on to the next one. This is called Ridgeline. This is only 200 metres away from the Andover deposit. They're separated, but they're actually on the same mineralised structure. And you can see there on the right-hand side of the image the Andover deposit, which is shown as the red shape there with the 75,000 tonnes of contained metal. On the left-hand side, showing with the drill holes and also the multiple zones of mineralisation shown in pink, that's the Ridgeline deposit, and that's where we're currently drilling at the moment. The drill out of that deposit is nearing completion. We do expect to be finished the drilling on that one within the next couple of weeks. Assays for that, as with all companies, assays are quite slow at the moment, so it's probably 3 months or so until we get the final assays back. But the assay results we've received to date for Ridgeline are indicating that we've got ourselves a really nice looking, much higher grade zone of mineralisation than what we see next door at the Andover deposit. So here's just a quick snapshot of one of the drill holes on the right hand side, the hole number 134, and you can see that the mineralisation in there is consistently in the 2 to 3 to 4 up to almost 5% nickel and on those individual samples. And on the left hand side are some of the the drill holes that we announced recently. So at Ridgeline, we have a zone of mineralisation that's several hundred metres long. Within that, we are getting shoots, steeply plunging shoots of very much higher grade and much greater width mineralisation. And those shoots are in the order of 150 to 200 metres from top to bottom. They're of the order of maybe 100 metres wide in length and probably up to 30 to 40 metres in width. The main mineralised zone is consistently around about 20 metres thick, and within that you get this core of 6 to 8 metres wide of this much higher grade mineralisation. So we anticipate that Ridgeline will bring some much increased grade into a combined resource scenario. And so where to from here? And literally, as it says, we are only scratching the surface, and we literally do scratch the surface because we're out there on the surface mapping and sampling and finding additional examples of mineralisation at surface. So we've drilled out the two deposits, Andover and Ridgeline. We've also drilled some holes into Seaview and Skyline. There's 11 holes into those two prospects. We've hit mineralisation in most of those holes. The rigs will be back onto Skyline and Seaview within the next couple of weeks, and we'll be back drilling those, hopefully to resource status as well. And then we extend out from that. And so as on this image here, you can see bottom left-hand side, there's Ridgeline and Andover in the southwest corner. There is a corridor of alteration and a corridor of mineralised rock that extends for at least 10 kilometres further to the northeast, to the upper right-hand side of our tenement package. And we are finding through our very detailed geological mapping and sampling that there are at least several dozen examples of outcropping gossans along that 10-kilometre long corridor. And so we'll be doing a lot more follow-up work on those, which will include also surface electromagnetic surveying, and then we'll be on the ground and drilling those as well. So multiple prospects to follow up the areas where we've already been drilling. So where to from here for Azure and for the Andover project? Well, what we're running at the moment is two pathways in parallel. We have the exploration, then exploration drilling, and then the resource definition drilling happening on one hand, and contemporaneously we're also running the development studies. So we've, as you can see there, things like metallurgy, mining studies, geotechnical studies, mineral processing routes, things like that are all underway at the moment. Some of them are completed. So the metallurgical test work, for example, stage 1 was completed and released last year. We get very good recoveries of nickel into the nickel concentrate, very good recoveries of the copper into the concentrate, and good grades, and those concentrates are very clean, no deleterious elements at all. Stage 2 of that metallurgical test work is now completed, and there'll be some information released publicly within the next couple of weeks for that. And the likes of the geotechnical study, the mining study, those are now complete, and that information will also be released in the next couple of weeks as well. So there's a lot happening going on here at the moment. And so we see this project, the Andover project, as having great opportunity for developing into a central processing facility being fed by multiple mines throughout that district. And that's obviously going to be of great benefit and bring great value to the company and to our shareholders, but it will also bring great value to the other stakeholders for the company and for the project, particularly in the local district up there. So we are obviously, ESG is very important, and you've heard a lot about that from the various companies that have been talking so far on this program. And we also believe that is to be the case. But where we are here in the West Pilbara, it's very important that we have that very strong and close relationship and binding relationship with the local communities. And so that's something that we're very focused on, to the extent now that we are proactively employing local people as best we can. All of our purchases, as much as possible, are going local as well. We intend to be a very strong and positive contributor to the Roebourne and Karratha and West Pilbara region. And so that's something that we're pushing very hard on. In addition to that, of course, with ESG, and particularly with selling your product into the market going forward, you need to be able to demonstrate that your product has been obtained, mined and processed, etc., to the very highest of standards, so that at some time when some chap in Europe buys a battery for his vehicle, he can trace that product all the way back to our Andover mine and be quite confident that we've produced those commodities in a clean and sustainable way. So as far as the company goes, we're in a really good position at the moment. We're running both the exploration and the development strategies in parallel. We are in a good position from the point of view of having a strong balance sheet. We are well cashed up at the moment to be able to afford to run both the exploration and the development programs simultaneously. We've got a really good team of people in place, people that have been involved with both successful exploration, making discoveries, building mines and operating in mining environments. And as this project continues to develop, we'll be continuing to increase the size and the capabilities of the team that we've got in place. And really that's about the summary of the project and of the company in this short time that we've got available. But for Azure Minerals, together with the Andover project, we see this as building a really bright future for the company, for our shareholders, for the stakeholders and the local communities in that West Pilbara region. And on that note, I'll say thank you very much.
Thank you, Tony. We are bang on time there, so any questions? Go and find Tony maybe out on the floor. I think we might just move straight across to Stu. Thanks, Tony.
Thanks, Jane.